Hey everybody, got another video here for you. Well, cool, it's a guitar. Now it needs strap and leg bars. Okay, time to do the leg bar. So the leg bar attaches at the back and comes down with some kind of an extension, and then it has a bar. That kind of an idea. And the player's knees go like here and here. Their legs coming down this way. And the way you make your bar is going to control the height of the guitar up and down in relation to the player, and where you mount it on the bar is going to control also the left and right of where the guitar is to the player. You can shift it to the player's left or shift it to the player's right. And it also controls the angle here, for at proper playing angle. So all these are all controlled just by this bar and the dimensions and angles you use for it. Now, what I've done is, first of all, I'll tell you that the dimensions and angles that I use don't put the guitar where, a Strat would naturally sit, or a Gibson or LP. The specs that I use actually shift the guitar 4 inches to the player's left, which would be towards the headstock, shifts the whole guitar that direction. So, because what it is that your player's like here, player, head, arms coming out to play, that kind of an idea. Can you even see this? Right, so what it is that your picking hand naturally kind of rests here at the right leg position, so that's where the bridge should be for palm muting. So the dimensions I use shift the entire guitar about 4 inches to the player's left to place the bridge over the knee and just below or right where your hand naturally falls when you're just sitting there. Excuse me. And let's see. Then the angle that I use is kind of low, but you can change that. I used to, when I was using the bar that you could take off and flip over and use as a strap bar as well, I would drill holes in it so that you could do a standard playing position seated, or it also had a 45-degree angle. This is 25 usually, and that would give you a kind of a classical that would put the guitar up closer to the player's head. But anyway, so this is what the bar controls, and I'm going to go ahead and set up the one that I'm building with the dimensions that I normally use, which is going to put the guitar about at the same height above the player's lap that you would get with a normal guitar, but it's going to move it about 4 inches to the right, so the bridge, instead of like the middle pickup, is at the strumming area where your hand falls. And then I use an angle of 25 degrees on the guitars, not a classical angle. I found a lot of times it was difficult to implement the classical because you had to put the controls down there. And if you got it so that you could do classical, it would shift the whole guitar kind of up this direction too much. So, yeah, these days I'm only supporting standard traditional seated position, the non-classical. So you can either build the bars to the same dimensions that I work out, or you can use your own. Just, sit down and figure out what angle you want it at in relation to your body. Figure out how far left and right you want it to be and how far up and down. How that works out to up and down works up to kind of how close it feels to you. Whether it's, right up in your chin or all the way down in your lap, kind of a thing. And then, and here with the left and right, basically you want to see where your hand naturally falls and then put wherever you want your strumming area to be, your primary strumming area for the guitar, put that under your hand. So if you like to play, at the middle pickup position, strum there more than up by the bridge doing palm mutes, then by all means, slide the guitar to the left a little bit. To left is seen here, which would be to the player's right. So, okay, I think you get the idea. And it's the same kind of idea for the strap. It doesn't control the angle, but it controls where you attach the bar to the extension, controls how far left and right the guitar sits, and how long the extension is controls how high or low the guitar sits. And then if you keep it more, and then since it's more or less parallel to the guitar itself, the way the player wears it controls the angle. But all these builds usually have good enough ergonomics that you don't get neck dive, because they're all pretty lightweight. And just the friction of a strap is enough to hold them up when you're standing. Especially since the top end of the strap comes up to, something like the 5th fret usually. So by attaching the strap way up there, you never really have neck dive issues. Okay, so you've got the idea of the way the bars work and the way you can change around the dimensions in order to more suit yourself, because this is almost like making a custom tailored suit. But I've worked out a set of dimensions that seem to work out okay as far as like how far left and right, how far up and down, and what angle. So I'm going to go ahead and implement those, and I'll tell you what those are and how I figure it out. I basically figure it out from scratch for each guitar because they're all custom, and no two are the same. I haven't built the same guitar twice. I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't think I've built the same guitar ever. Two are the same. In anything other than just a telekit build or something like that. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Time to build some bars. So this is how I figure out where to build the bar, how to build the bar. I start at the intersection of this, looking at the back of the guitar, start the center line and saddle line intersection, come back at an angle of 25 degrees, come down 120 millimeters, and that should be the bottom of the bar. And the back end of the bar should be 150 millimeters from this line. And the overall length is 2 feet, or about 610 millimeters. And you change this dimension in order to change the height of the guitar, how close it is to you when you're seated, how close to your chin or your lap. And you change this angle if you want to make it more classical or more horizontal. And you change this dimension if you want to shift the whole guitar left to right in relation to your body. So sometimes I'll just go and grab, like, the compass, the protractor, and the ruler, and just kind of figure out what that works out to compared to where I happen to be putting the bars on the body on that particular build. But recently I've found that probably the most straightforward way is just to make a scale drawing, like a half scale drawing of the area in question will fit on a single piece of paper. So I just do a half scale drawing of the parts that I need to figure out. And that gets me the dimensions I need for, like, the extension block and where the extension block will attach to the leg bar and all that good stuff. So if you don't want to go through the hassle of measuring your own out, you can just wait until that clip comes up and just use the dimensions that I use. Okay, I sat down and made a full-size drawing. There goes a bar. Made a full-size drawing of what's going on. There's the center of the saddle line and the bridge this is on the back of the guitar. That's the two insert holes there. And then this line here is the one that comes down at the 25-degree angle that tells you where your bar goes. The bars are 20 millimeters thick, and that's the scale there. And this distance here is that 150 millimeters that you want it to stick back from this line. So it looks like the end of the bar is just going to barely tag the body. So I decided come up 60, and then that's a 25-degree angle once again. Strike a line and cut it off. Before you do that, I figured out that it's 161 millimeters to where you want to position the extension. And the two really important numbers here are, if you've got a 60 millimeter wide extension bar, in order to go from back here where you've got enough room for the thumb screws to all the way down here underneath the bottom of the bar, because the bar is going to mount. This is, all right, here's the body of the guitar here. This extension block mounts on, we're looking at the back, mounts on top of the back of the body. Then the leg bar mounts on the front of the extension. So like this. Body. Give me something to use in an extension. Here. Extension. And then bar goes on the front of the extension. It's actually going to be, the extension will come down to like here, but the bar will be mounted. The extension goes on the back of the body. The bar is mounted on the front of the extension. That's why it clips the corner. But that makes it so that it's makes the guitar tilt back towards the player more, which is better, but not so far back that it slides off your lap. So the first step is going to be to cut a piece to take this extension bar out of. So you want to get your cutoff, of which I have practically nothing left because I messed mine up when I was cutting something in bridge block, I think it was. Yeah, get your cutoff or a second piece if you have to. And you want to cut a piece that's 60 millimeters wide and 121 long. And then once you've done that, go and mark off 91 millimeters on one edge of it and strike a line, sorry, down here. Mark off 91 millimeters, strike a line, and cut that diagonal, and you'll have your extension. So I'm going to go do that now. Okay, I dug up some cutoff and cut it 60 mil wide by 120 long, and then measured down 91 and struck a line to the corner. And now I need to make that cut, and then I've got that piece right there in the drawing. And yeah, I had it laid up here, and it is to scale, and it's the right size and everything. So now I'm going to cut that part, and that will give me the extension bar for the leg bar. And then all I have to do is mark it and drill it. So once again, those dimensions are, it's 60 millimeters wide, and the long side is 121, and the short side is 91. Okay, the extension is all cut out, and that allowed me to take the bar, measure down 161 from the end, and that's where the extension's going to meet, right? Like that kind of thing. Or actually on this side. Yeah, right about like that. So there's my 161 mark, and then for the back end, measured down 60, and then struck a line at 25 degrees, and that's where I want to cut off the end of the bar. But this has, I measured this first so that I could get the proper distance here before I cut the end of the bar off. Because I don't, actually this would be 161 minus 60 would be 101 from there to there should be. Anyway, now I'm going to go lop this thing off. So there it is, the extension and the bar, cut to the proper length at the proper angle. Pretend that's the body, and you're looking at it from the back. So the thumb screws inserts are right there, and there are going to be a couple drywall screws here going into the bar so that it's attached to the extension. And yeah, the only thing left to do is to mark it, punch it, and drill it, and then sand it, and then it's off to the paint shop. So the first thing you're going to want to mark out is where the holes for the thumb screws are going to go. And they're 10 millimeters down from the edge, and they're 40 millimeters apart. They're centered on the bar. And then the next thing you want to do is mark out where the drywall screws go to attach it to the leg bar. And what you want to do is you want to come in 10 millimeters from the side. And, well, this dashed line shows where the leg bar will be. So start by striking that out. Come up 20 millimeters from the bottom on both ends and strike this line. Then come in 10 millimeters from each edge, and that's how far in these holes are, and then just center them in the bar. So like this is centered between that, and this is centered between that and that. It's about 10 millimeters there, and 10 millimeters there, 10 there, and 10 there, because that's supposed to be about 20 wide. And that gets you the spacing that way. These guys are 40 millimeters apart, and these guys are right in line with them. Then on the leg bar, you want to work out where your block's going to be, and then measure it out the same way that you measured out this. You want to come in 10 millimeters and put a mark in the center of the bar, kind of like right there. Oops, lost my lead. Right about there. And then come in 10 millimeters here. And you want something right about there. And these should match up with these, and they do. Yeah, they match up. So, everything's marked out. Time to punch it. Hi, baby. Talking to the kitten. Okay. So let's see here. It's going to go like this. Back this camera up a bit. Okay. So it's going to go like that. And everything's lining up. And these are going to get drilled all the way through from both sides too. A pilot hole all the way through and then drilled from both sides. For thumb screw is 7 millimeters. So these will be 7s. And then these will be the part of the drywall screw that you want to drop through. So those will be 5s. And those will go all the way through, pilot hole, and drill from both sides. And then these down here will only be 10 millimeters deep, and they'll be 3s. And then let's see. These will also get a chamfer on them for the drywall screws. And the screws themselves will be 30 millimeters long, so I'll have to cut down some 50s in my particular case. So yeah, time to get to drilling. And there it is, test assembled and installed on the guitar with the thumb screws, and it's looking good. So I can take that off, take it apart, sand it down, and send it off to the paint shop. And now it's time to do the strap bar. So the geometry for the strap bar is the same as the leg bar, except it's not tilted 25 degrees. You come from the center of the bridge, saddle line, and you come up 120, that's where the top of the bar should be. And then it should be from right there at that line, it should be 150 to the end of the bar. So I'm making the extension for that right now, and it's 60 wide again, the same this one was, and it needs to be 70 long, and the bar goes 30 up from the end, like right there, and it's going to go on the end of this thing, not on the back or the front. So I'm just marking it out now. Okay, I got it all marked out. It's 60 wide, it's 70 long. The thumb screw holes are spaced at 40, centered, and they're down 10 from the edge. And the holes for attaching it to the bar are centered this way and centered that way and spaced at 40. And the holes on the bar here are, well, the whole bar is 60 wide, like about this. So once again, they're centered and centered this way, and this distance is 10 millimeters. That's 10 and that's 40 spacing. And these get 5 millimeters all the way through. These get 7 millimeters all the way through. So these will both get pilot holes and drilled from both sides. And then this gets 3 millimeters by 30 millimeters deep, because this goes on like here, and the drywall screw goes like that. So now I'm going to go punch and drill all this. And there's the strap bar, all test assembled and installed on the guitar with the thumb screws. And everything's looking good. So, I suppose I ought to drill this for the strap buttons before I sand and paint shop. So when I was test assembling the strap bar here, at first my holes didn't line up real good, so I took it apart and I used the little mini rasp and rasped this one out a millimeter or so in the proper direction, and now it's lining up much better. So yeah, if you have that issue, that's the way you fix it. I'm about to screw on the strap buttons right now. I know I'll just have to take them right off again, but just being thorough. Okay, now the bars are made. The next step is to take them all apart and sand them with 60 grit. Sand all the faces, sand all the edges, sand all the corners. And then it's ready for the paint shop. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. So, until the next one, everybody, have a good one.